Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you doing today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? Hope everything is good and wonderful and great. I'm feeling okay. I still have a lot of cough. Actually, my cough is worse today than it has been this whole time. But I want to tell you a story today that I don't think I've ever told. I don't think I've ever told anybody this story, actually. And it's a story about impressionable youth and how that can be how dangerous that could be, I guess. In my case, it didn't end up being dangerous at all, but impressionable youth. And I don't think I've ever told this story to anybody. So you might be the first to hear it. I don't know. Somebody will let me know if I told them. And this all came from, last week I wanted to do the question and answer episode, and I really only got one question that I thought was kind of a serious question, and it was from Maui Chris, who asked me, what's the strangest thing I've ever smelled? And the strangest thing I've ever smelled is cardboard, but for a very specific reason. When I was a kid, I was a loner. I always enjoyed my time alone. I mean, as an adult, I enjoy alone time. But I did not want to associate. I was not, I just wanted to be left alone. And I read a lot. I read everything I could read, everything I get my hands on to read, which wasn't a whole lot. I mean, but like, for instance, I read an entire set of encyclopedias. I read the dictionary, or the Bible, anything I could read. But I really wanted to read fantasy. I really wanted to read kind of thriller, horror. Not horror. My sister read a lot of horror. She's always been like a big Stephen King fan. I never read a lot of horror, but I read a lot. And I was always on the lookout for new things that I wanted to experience as I was reading. And because I was not wealthy, I was always looking in bargain bins. And we had a little mall here that was pretty awesome when I was a kid, and then they built some new malls in neighboring towns, and my mall kind of dissolved and turned into the dirt mall. But we had a Walden Books in that mall, and I can remember finding a book there that was something like $3, and I was really excited about it because it had to do with aliens, and I bought it. And the book was called, I think it was The Majestic, or it might just have been Majestic, by the author of Whitley Strieber. And the opening part of this book kind of says, this is truth, this is real, what I'm about to say is what actually happened, and nobody can convince me otherwise. And then it tells the story. It tells the story about Roswell. It tells a story about Area 51 and aliens that were there and abduction. And Whitley Strieber also wrote a book called Communion. Both of these books are fiction, by the way. But my young, impressionable mind read that opening kind of, this is reality, and I accepted that. I accepted, like, this could be real. Like, this guy's telling the truth. And, I think it even had, like, a whole section about how he was going to go to jail for writing it, or the FBI had been trying to track him down or something. It was kind of this hokey thing. But as a youth, I was probably a teenager, or like an early teen, between, say, 12 and 16 or something like that, when I read The Majestic. That it really kind of left an impression on me, and I was really, I read that book, I think, in like a single evening. It was really fun read. I don't have it anymore. I don't know what happened to it. Maybe I'll read it again someday. I gotta find a copy. Because I remember really enjoying the book. I would like to revisit it now that I'm thinking about this particular thing. But the whole point, the whole reason I'm telling you this is I got really into the idea of aliens at that time, and I went out and I found the Communion and I read the Communion. I found other alien books and read those and started studying Area 51, and I got really into that whole concept because of this book. And at that time we had shows on TV like Unsolved Mysteries that were kind of hinting at aliens. Later on we had X-Files that hinted at aliens, and so I was really into that whole like conspiracy culture thing. And this was all like, it wasn't necessarily pre-internet, but it was before the internet was useful to anybody. So there'd be all these forums where you could find people typing out stuff, but it wasn't searchable easily, and so it gave it the whole air of mystery, like, oh, maybe this guy's for real because he's, writing this story that nobody, he's not seeking attention. He's just making this story, publicly available because he wants to share the truth. And so the reason that I talk about cardboard is because I believe it was in Majestic, but it might have been in Communion, where one of the characters talks about the strong smell of cardboard whenever they got abducted. I think it was Communion. Every time they were abducted, there was this strong smell of cardboard in the room, and then they lost several hours or whatever. I don't remember all the details. I just know that that really left an impression on me, and every time since, still, when I smell that corrugated cardboard, that in particular, when I smell it, I think of Aliens. I think of that book. I think of that time in my life where I was really into that idea. And it kind of makes me giggle a little bit because it is a kind of, it's kind of embarrassing because I guess I was young enough and innocent enough to be, to have that imprinted on me as reality, when in reality I think that it was probably pretty obvious to anybody reading the book that it wasn't reality. Yeah, that's it. That's the strangest thing I've ever smelled and continue to smell to this day is aliens. What is the strangest thing you've ever smelled? I'd love to hear it in the comments. Let me know. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Well, tell me a random fact.
According to Wikipedia, there are exactly 108 red stitches on every Major League Baseball.
100, is there a reason for that? That's a regulation?